Here at the Sil 80 Mania podcast, we are passionate about drifting history. Here's a little history lesson. Back in 2003, Falcon Tires did what no other tire company in the US did. They promoted drifting by sponsoring Falcon Drift Show-Off, and they brought legendary Japanese drifters Koguchi and Seigo Yamamoto to judge and do demos. They sponsored grassroots drivers, and when FD was established, they supported the series and drivers for 19 years. When we approached Falcon about partnering with us, they were happy to come on board because they care about drifting culture, and they support our mission to document drifting both past and present. Thank you, Falcon Tires, for playing an important role in drifting around the world and for making Season 2 our best season yet. For more information, please visit Falcon Tire's website at falcontire.com and check out their IG at Falcon Tire. You're listening to the Sil 80 Mania podcast Season 2, brought to you by Falcon Tires. Here we document the history of drifting by interviewing the OGs and trendsetters of drifting culture. You're listening to another episode of the Sil 80 Mania podcast. I'm your host, Benson Sue, and I have the beautiful Nadine Sue with me.
Hi, honey buns.
And the ultra-talented Mark Mondoy. What's up, Mark?
What up?
Yo. So today, I wanted to start off our podcast by talking about drifting. It's always evolving, right? It's kind of like a growing, living thing. You have trends die, you have trends come in. So today, in honor of our podcast guest, I wanted to talk about what is one of the biggest changes you've seen in drifting since you got started.
Ooh.
Mark, I'll start with you.
Oh.
Are you ready for this? Are you have an answer?
The biggest changes.
He was born ready.
Well,
it's okay.
It's funny because, like, you would say one of the biggest changes I've seen noticed is how it's returned to vintage style that we were into, right?
Yeah.
For the longest time, it was just like kind of. I used to call it like the Mad Max style of drifting, where everybody's cars were just like, bash bars and exposed hoods and stuff like that. Yeah. But that resurgence of that, early 2000s style is like much appreciated. The cars look good now.
I don't know. Like we saw that in the pandemic with, Jordans and sneakers, and people are starting to go back and buy like fashionable things that they were into when they were younger. And then we're seeing that with drifting. I don't know if it's related or if it's like a coincidence or what, but it's really interesting to see.
You always love shoes. You always bring shoes into it.
I do. I need to stop that.
No, it's okay.
Maybe people don't relate.
What shoes are you wearing today, honey buns?
Put
them on the table.
Some Yeezys. I don't wear a lot of Yeezys.
You know what? I'm wearing my Yeezys today too.
Yeah. Well, I always wear these Yeezys when I wear this Goodestcast shirt, because it's got some orange on there. And,
foreshadowing. I like it. That's good.
What about you, babe? What is a big
don't
change
hate
you've
me.
seen?
Don't hate me. Takeovers. And it's this subculture of drifting, and it sucks because I meet people and they're like, "Oh, drifting like takeovers," and then you try to get away from it, and then it's like, it's just a weird subculture of drifting, and it's
Is it drifting now?
Do we call it drifting? I mean, the general public kind of sees it as the same thing.
Does, so I'm going to say yes, because they don't. I mean, to me, it's not, but I mean.
And I used to cringe when people say like, "Oh, like Tokyo Drift."
Yeah, and it's moved from like Tokyo Drift to, "Are you into takeovers?"
Yeah,
and it's really weird. Like you see it, and you're like, these guys have no skill, and they're just just trying to wreak havoc. But then you also we've caught them at drift tracks practicing for takeovers, which is blows my mind.
I respect that, though, at least they're at the track. But then it's like they're not prepping for FD or there's a takeover. But I don't know. I don't think it's gonna last though.
Because, I hope not.
But they're really cracking down on it. I think that they passed some kind of law that they're gonna crush the cars.
Well,
if you're doing a takeover
I hope that they crack down on it in a way that doesn't affect the good people.
I know.
I think that's the hard part. So, I don't want cops to see a drift car and be like, just assume that we're in the takeovers and stuff.
Or like me, who drives a G35 sedan, which is like the icon car of takeovers.
I love my G37 sedan, but I know that comes along with owning a G37. People think that I am in the takeovers, but it doesn't look like a takeover car.
What does a takeover car look like?
I mean, it's like a
G37,
like a G37 sedan.
Well, at least we're not straight pipe. That's like the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't have like human-shaped dents on my quarter panel or anything.
What?
So.
Okay, this is the first time I'm learning this.
Oh, okay. That's good. You don't watch a lot of takeover videos.
Don't lie, you guys are in the pit. I've seen you.
It's all good.
I think like a major change that I see, and we're going to talk about it later in this interview, is the amount of money people are putting into drifting on a grassroots level. Like we used to spend that kind of money and time on our cars, preparing and transporting, like to do Formula D.
Yeah.
So people now are just doing that just to go to a grassroots event, which is really cool.
Which is, it ties into the vintage era stuff. That stuff isn't, easily available anymore. It's rare and expensive. So it pays to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good, babe. I like that, honey buns. Three good answers.
Yes.
I like it.
So, I'm going to introduce our guest now.
Oh.
Are you guys ready?
We got a new guest in the house.
We got a new guest. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay.
He already spoke.
Were you born ready?
No, you were.
No, I was. Yes. So, I have a really good guest for you guys today. The reason why I have him on is because he is one of the pioneers. I consider him a pioneer of this really cool drifting style that is really popular now. Really aggressive. It really shows a nod to Japanese style of drifting. And he does a lot of team drifting, which is also really big right now. He's a member of one of the most influential grassroots drift teams named Animal Style.
I would say that's like the most famous American drift team, for sure.
It's one of the most, yeah.
Yeah. Or if not the most famous, like it's the most famous.
For good reason.
Yeah.
I would like to think so, because I like them all. I think they're a really good group of guys. So, and then he's a host of one of the most popular automotive drifting podcasts out there.
That was the first drifting podcast I ever listened to.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I tend to avoid drifting podcasts.
Oh, burn.
But I really like Goodestcast. It's a really good podcast. It's not pretentious. It's not too serious. We'll talk about that more.
Okay. Okay. Well, come on.
But
let's
also,
do this. Yes.
This person, I truly believe, is a future OG. So
he's already OG.
Palmer Sanderson, welcome to the podcast.
Yes!
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
Welcome, Palmer.
Thanks for having me. Hi.
Yeah, thanks for sitting through our hour-long prep session for this podcast.
It's longer than
you guys at home have no idea how much effort they put into this. Like, if you've seen my podcast, 10% of what they put in. Oh. No question. Well,
I mean, I was just sitting here, so
okay, Benson, you have a whole paper filled out. You guys are absolutely.
This is just for you, man. Just for you.
Yeah. Welcome, Palmer. How do you like being in the hot seat so far?
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, you just show up, right?
Yeah.
Just show up and not be too wasted or anything.
Which, some of the guests end up there, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Names.
No, definitely not one in particular.
So why don't you start us off with telling us about how you got into cars?
Wow. Okay. So how I got into cars, my dad was into cars. We did RC stuff together when I was younger, which was a thing. But I think my first couple words were car and wheel, first 5. My parents would if they wanted me to calm down, they would take me to a parking lot, which is not really what you usually do with a toddler or whatever. Monster trucks, Gravedigger.
Yeah.
The VHS tape was worn out pretty much. Pretty much just anything with 4 wheels and an engine was it. My dad was into racing and didn't really like do. He watched it, right?
Okay.
Like he would watch like F1, and so we had Speed Channel, and so I would watch all the like touring car racing, BTCC, all that stuff, like from like a young kid, you know, Gran Turismo. It like, I can't even remember like a pivotal first memory of getting into cars. Yeah, it's just been like a lifelong thing for me.
Okay. That's like Nadine. Nadine's dad was really into F1, and he kind of exposed her to racing from TV and stuff. And I don't know.
Left things on the toilet for me to read.
On the toilet.
Yours was more like your parents. I felt like they gave you a great like upbringing in the like the cars. Mine was different. Mine was like here. Like it wasn't for me, I don't think, but I took it.
That's okay. You were around it. You were exposed to it.
Yeah.
So tell us how you found out about drifting. How'd you discover it?
I don't remember the first thing. Like, I don't remember when I determined that it was called drifting, but I always like skateboarding. I love power sliding. Mm-hmm. Anything that had to do with like riding a bike, I would always like grab the rear brake, stuff like that. Just like the feeling of sliding stuff around is just like the best, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, you see cars or whatever in movies like sliding around. That always looks super cool to me. You know, monster trucks do it a little bit, you know, like it's just like the art of like sliding this big crazy vehicle was always super cool. But like drifting itself, I can't remember the moment, but I do know like my earliest memories of quote unquote drifting was downloading stuff from Kazaa and like just typing in drifting and see
on a telephone modem, or did you have something nicer?
This is like, baby.
I think it was like 2002, 2003.
Okay.
I would download like what you type in drifting and it would just be like drifting dot, you know, MP4 or whatever. And you're like, okay, what am I going to get? Sometimes it was like
WMV or
Wave, or was it Wave? No, Wave was audio.
Wave's audio. Yeah. There's like, I don't know. You just get like random. Sometimes it would just be like a, you know, suburban, like driving in the snow doing donuts. And you're all right. But I think that was the first time I saw anything from Slide Squad. Like I remember that watermark from like my early teens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like some of the stuff that Dave captured on his camcorder.
Yeah, exactly.
Dope.
We had the conversation of I had like that clip of Abisu Toge course, like there's no trees or anything. And like when I was a kid, I just was like, oh, what track is that? That looks cool. And like it took all those years later having a conversation with you, realizing like, oh my God, it's the same thing. Yeah, I remember that clip like from my like early teens.
Yeah.
Nice.
And took a break, had some like crazy life stuff, and cars were still something that I liked, but I wasn't really into them or able to be into them, and kind of just went somewhere. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It all came back into play.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about when did you fall in love with drifting?
I first fell in love with drifting. I had a coworker. I worked at Best Buy.
Yeah. I
was a car audio installer, and I had this coworker who was like a Zilvia guy, and he had an S13 with like a KA and KTS coilovers and a Nismo two-way. Not the nicest car in the world, still 4-lug, like pretty basic setup. But like one day we would always like talk about drifting. I thought it was cool and just didn't really understand what it always felt like inaccessible to me.
Okay.
Because I had gone to FD and in like 2006, and it was like, those are race cars, you know? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know what an LSD was. I didn't really know how to work on cars. I didn't live with my dad from like my early teens on for whatever reason. So like the car stuff kind of didn't really continue.
Right.
He didn't like work on cars or anything. So I never really learned any of that stuff. But we went out one night after work, and he's like, hey, do you want to rip some donuts? And he let me drive his S13. And like I ripped some like pretty immaculate donuts.
Really?
And he was just like, dude, whoa.
Yeah.
And that was it.
He didn't teach you, you just did it.
I had always messed around in cars.
Okay.
Like my mom had a LS400 with a factory LSD in it, and I had no idea it had an LSD.
I didn't either.
I didn't know they came with them. I don't know if someone swapped it at some point.
But it's a 400, that's why. It's a fancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them are open, some of them are... I guess there's a couple that come with LSDs.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know the difference. I had a Mercedes 190E that had an open diff, and I'm like, how come I can't do donuts in this?
Okay.
I don't know. That next day, I was like on Craigslist looking for S13s.
That's when it got you.
Yeah. So
did it take him to tell you that they were good for it to kind of happen, or
that's just all I knew?
Right.
I mean, like I definitely had seen like option video and stuff before that, but it's like the act of actually doing something.
Yeah.
Like getting behind the wheel and feeling what a manual rear wheel drive car with
you felt like you felt a properly, or not, maybe not properly, but it was good enough to.
Yeah,
it was not an LS400. It was
yeah, not a LS400 on air suspension.
Yeah,
factory air.
Yeah.
Yeah, LSD coilovers, actually manual.
Yeah,
I was like, you have so much more control, and the car was light.
Yeah,
and it just kind of like does what you want it to do. I was like, okay, this is for me.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I was like 19 or 20 at the time.
Yeah. I think when I see your cars, I see the style of driving that you have. Like, there's a lot of Japanese influence in that. Where'd that come from? And I haven't mentioned it yet, but you have a E36.
Yeah.
Which is a very unique car. And I've told you this many times that, like, I'm really glad that you drift in that instead of something else, because it really makes you stand out. And I think you think about a lot of the great drivers, and it's, like a lot of my heroes in Japan, they stand out as drivers, but they also have a car that stands out with them. And so, I'm glad you have that car.
Thanks.
Yeah. But, so back to the Japanese style of things. Where did that come from?
I think I was always really excited by the, like, I don't know. There's that like Jesse Streeter street video in the white S13. Like I had a white coupe, like that. I was I was like very like that video lives rent free in my head.
Okay.
It was just like the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
That's the one not at Toge, like not one of his. It's the ones with the curbs.
Yeah, he's like driving around like
he like scrapes his muffler tip on the curb.
Yeah. I know that he's video, like running from the cops and stuff, and it was just like I was a bit of a rule breaker.
Yeah,
in my early years, so like that part of drifting was really cool to me. Like the kind of like I don't know, call it. I hate saying like outlaw, but it's kind of this like troublemaker. Like
I think we all go through that in our teenage years. Like, you just want to rebel against everything.
Yeah.
I totally feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that was like the coolest thing to me. So, like, and also, like, international stuff is just cooler, right? Like, you're like, oh, this is, they're doing this, like, all the way across the world.
Yeah.
I had, like, a couple friends who I grew up with, or, like dudes that I, like, partied with and stuff who were, like, into option video also. My friend Dylan, like, we would go to Japantown and like go get, option videos and stuff and like watch them. He was like way more into it than I was. Like, I'll be honest, like I hate to say this, but I was much more into doing than watching, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like the Japanese styling and the Japanese style of driving that I go for is based on that, and it's just like I don't know, it's like it's raw,
right?
So it's like this like raw, like exciting, like fast, carry momentum, like dangerous, like I like to push the limits of things.
Yeah. So I really like that you say carry momentum when you're describing it, because I think that has so much to do with good drifting. Whether
I agree
it's Japanese style or not, like not relying on on your power that you're making, but your entry speeds and like keeping that up, I think that's really important. And I don't think we say that enough on this podcast.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference in like Japanese, the Japanese style is entries are so important.
Yep.
Like that's like the pivotal thing. And that honestly, one of the most exciting things in drifting is fast, aggressive entries.
Yeah.
And I think US drifting sometimes doesn't put enough highlight on entry speed and aggression there. And that's essentially it.
I always said, like, in a way, that's making your first impression is by your entry, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I don't know how many times, watching other people drive, just you take notice when somebody enters really fast and really aggressive, is your attention, your eyes focus on them no matter, like, the car might be beat up a little, but if they got a great entry,
that's always my favorite shot of, watching option video or like a drifting competition. And then the camera is set on the scenery. There's no car there yet. And then all of a sudden the car comes in like super high speed, and then it lets you feel how fast the car is coming.
They do a really good job of capturing speed and like entries. And that's like the hard thing to capture with video. It's hard to understand what the difference is in video a lot of the times with like entries. It just doesn't translate. Seeing the stuff in person, like going to Mahon and standing on the wall, you were like, it is an absolutely completely different experience than it is watching clips. Like, and I'd been watching, burst stuff since I got into drifting. I always thought that was the coolest stuff. It is nothing in comparison to like seeing it in person.
What were some of those things that you observed when you're at Mahon that kind of blew your mind?
The thing that blew my mind was, Nakamura, incredible driver. You expect him to be good, right? But you get there, and not only is he the most unbelievable driver you've ever seen in driving on this track that I'm sure he's done like thousands of laps at, if not tens of thousands. There are so many other people there who have been driving for a long time, and the focus on just one part of driving, or like that one entry on this one track, and they have spent more hours working on that one line than we have anything, you know? And it's like, it shows, because there's like women who you've never seen on social media. They might have 200 followers. Yeah. They don't even have Instagram. This is like some Laurel you've never seen, and just like absolutely 90 on the wall. Yeah. And you're like, what is this? Yeah. Like, it seems like they're chasing this like perfection and this like absolutely insane, dangerous, fast line. And I mean,
for the love of it, and it's not for fame or attention.
Not sponsors, nothing. Like people are out there just. There's this one guy who was like clipping his phone to a tree and then going out for his session and coming back, and he'd watch every single run. Yeah. And then he'd go back out and get closer and closer and faster, go back out and film. Yeah. And like by the end of the day, it was just like unbelievable consistency. Yeah. And that's the stuff that doesn't translate in videos, because anybody can get a great clip, but like the consistency and the non-stop, just relentless perfection is something everybody needs to witness. Right.
Where did you learn how to drift? Like, where were you? Where was your upbringing?
Takeovers?
No,
sideshows.
Yeah,
takeovers are
sideshow palm. Catch me in the pit, hit rollbacks on them. No, I actually did the very first time. There's like this like Home Depot circle in San Rafael, California. I used to work at the Circuit City that was like down the street, and the Best Buy that was down the street. Just kind of messing around there a couple nights. Then I made some friends. I used to be media, so I was taking pictures at the very first year of Sonoma Drift, and I met some like guys from Vallejo. I like just posted their pictures on Facebook, and they're like, "Hey man, I saw you have S13. You want to come drift with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I like went out, and I have like an OG friend that I met. This is gonna sound so weird. So I had this other friend who was like, "Hey man, you want to come to a rap cipher?" with me? And I was like, yeah, I got nothing else to do. Sure, like I can't rap, but I'll come hang out, you know? So I go to this apartment and like everybody's like drinking 40s and like smoking weed and they're like, you know, hanging out. But there was a sim setup. And this is like, I don't know, like 2009, I think. Maybe earlier, 2008. And the guy's like, I was like, oh yeah, you into cars? He's like, yeah, I got a Hachi. And I was like, oh, sick. And this is when I still have my Lancer.
Yeah.
And he's just like, from non-evolution.
Right, yes.
And he's like, oh yeah, we got to change that. You know, we like became friends over time. And he taught me how to clutch kick on like Live for Speed on his simulator.
Okay.
But that night in Vallejo, I learned how to clutch kick on the street for real, you know?
Dang.
Yeah. So Vallejo at the time had no police, pretty much. They only had sheriffs because they were bankrupt. So like you could just go out all night and
wild,
pretty much drift wherever you wanted.
So you're from the streets in The Sims.
Yeah,
from the streets. Man, I was fully waiting for like a 8th Mile kind of scene, and you just.
I did do donuts in a rap video in Vallejo, but when I was 16.
Oh, what?
And my Mercedes 190E.
Dang,
that's a deep cut. I'll send you the.
That's
link.
Pretty sick.
We want to see that. The people want to see that. Nice.
It was on Falcon tires.
Ooh.
Oh, hey.
Shout out to Falcon.
Oh. Sponsoring Benzo's takeovers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Can we talk about Animal Style? How did that relationship start, and how did you become a part of it?
Okay. Yeah, so I met Jason at Sonoma. I was just going to Sonoma Drift at the time. I had my own like little like drift crew that I started. I watched the Risky Devil one. I can't remember exactly which video it was because we watched like 5 of them. I can't remember the exact first one. It's the one where Chob has like driving gloves on the street.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this like team like stuff is pretty sick. Like that was like one of the first nights I went out street drifting. It was like my friend played that. We were working on my car and his car. He had an S14 with like a KAT that was just like so clapped.
Yeah.
And like, but like hella powerful. We like went. He let me drive it that night, and so I had like kind of like a little team thing going on. I wanted like that lifestyle kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Galen like had this thing called like the Low Budget Crew, and like some of the guys that I met that I went out street drifting with Leo, like Eric and Tristan, we had this crew called the Low Budget Crew. So I was like doing that for a bit and hanging out with Jason. I was like doing a lot of media. I made like a bunch of videos for like the Low Budget Crew stuff and like edited that. And Jason just got his FD license, and so did Julian. I had not met Julian yet.
Okay.
But Jason was a super nice guy. Like really,
he is.
Yeah, he's like, yo, man, we got to get a kit on your car. Like this stock arrow thing is not working. Like we got to help you out. So he like hooked me up. I had like my Sylvia front end, and he like gave me like some mix match. It was like charge speed rear with like Yoras like Type 4 side skirts and like I think it was a Vertex front bumper.
Wow.
It was a weird mix match, but better than that. It was my first kit.
Okay.
So I was like, I was talking to them. I was doing like a lot of media stuff, and I was like, hey, I want to like cover your trip to FD. Like you guys are like regular people like me. I want people to know what it looks like to try and do this thing, you know, because this is, I think like 2012.
Okay.
So this was before the horsepower wars. You know, you could still go with a 400 horsepower car and tow your car there probably and get away with it. It was like the very end of that.
Yeah.
And hung out with Jason a bunch. Met Julian. Julian and I like hit it off. Like we had like very similar like upbringings and trouble we got into, and had like a lot of similarities there and stuff. So hung out with them a bit more and like kind of just like learned from them. I got like a lot of like insight from Julian, like driving technique and car styling and this and that. And things kind of like fell apart with that other team that I was kind of running. And nothing bad, but just I didn't think that I would ever be on the team. And at the time, the team wasn't really like what it is now.
Yes.
It was just like kind of friends hanging out. And I really looked up to Ryan. Like the first time I met Ryan Cotto was at Bash of the Future, the very first one.
Okay.
And he was driving like a KA S13.
Okay.
I think it was his brother. I think it was Brandon Cotto's car. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I went to help him pick up. He was like trying to check out something in the head and he was taking the valve cover off. And I picked it up and flipped it over and dumped all of the hardware into the head.
Oh, dude.
This is like the first time I met Ryan.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, he's like an FD and I'm like just this guy like starting out. And I'm like so embarrassed. And he was the nicest guy ever. Like,
he is.
Absolute sweetheart. He's like, oh, dude, it's cool, man. Like, let's just get a magnet.
Wow, dude.
Like,
that's nice.
Yeah. So, I don't know, just good people. And I like spending time with everybody. And I SR swapped my car, I think, over that summer because I blew my KA. And we all went to All-Star Bash 2013.
Okay.
And so they have Team Tandem and All-Star Bash.
Yes.
And they were like, hey, you should lead. And I'm super nervous, like I had just redone my car. I'm like slammed on the ground. Like, I was like all, I had my Equip 05 17s, 17 by 10.
Nice.
Just like the car is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm like tucking 17s all around pretty much.
Yeah.
And like behind me, I have Jason in his like was going to be FD car, Julian in his S14, Ryan Cotto and his FD car, the Z.
Yeah.
And then Matt Field behind him.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
no pressure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my ex-girlfriend's like getting trashed with like some random dudes and comes and spills like an entire beer all over me before I go out. And so I'm just like, I'm nervous, furious. Like, I'm like,
you're everything.
I guess I just like channeled it or whatever. And I drove like probably some of the hardest driving I had done to that date.
Yeah.
Just like in front of everybody and led.
Good driving.
Yeah.
You like sometimes it takes something like that to just get you out of your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just like, I'm going to use this.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this rage
channel.
that I'm feeling.
It.
Yeah. So we went out, we won, and that was crazy. Like, and I went to ASB the year before and just like partied. I didn't even drive. I never even thought I would tow my car. That was the first time I towed my car anywhere out of, I think it was the first time I towed my car.
Yeah.
It was like the first time I towed my car to Southern California, which was 6-7 hours. It was crazy, unfathomable to me.
Right.
And then we like win this event and like there was like a cash payout and I got like $200 and I'm like, am I a pro now? Like,
you made it.
Like, Mom made it. Like, got a big trophy. And after that, I walked back over to my car, and this is when Julian's car was still like primer and had like the animal style like chrome like logo on the side of it.
Yeah.
They pulled one of those off and put it on my back window.
Dude.
And I just walk over. I just like.
Did you cry?
I can't even remember. Like, it was just like so. I didn't believe it. It was just like so unreal.
Surreal. Aww.
And like. That was before like the parking lot video. That was before like a lot of the animal style stuff really like went as big as it did. But like to me, that was everything. Because like in NorCal, like animal style was the coolest.
Yeah.
And like just getting to hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
And like be friends with everyone made me feel so good. And just like being considered included. Like for a long time, I've had, what's it called? Like,
aspirations?
No. Imposter syndrome. I've had imposter syndrome about being on the team.
Yeah.
So.
How long were you drifting before you got on the team?
Like going to events, probably like 2-3 years. Yeah.
That's dope. I like that story.
Yeah.
And I think, everybody on the team, they're really good dudes. So aside from the fact that they thought you're good enough to drift with them, like they kind of considered you as like part of the family and part of them. Like it's much more than just you're a good drift guy. So,
yeah, I hope so.
I think so. So you've been drifting for a while now. What are some of the ways you've seen drifting change since you started?
It's gotten way bigger. Like, I remember when I started, there was maybe 12 events a year. Now there's one every weekend. Well, there's one every day of every weekend at Thunderhill
like
almost.
Mm-hmm.
At either skid pad. There might be 2 different events at a single day at the skid pad. You know, Sonoma's got a bunch of stuff going on. If you come down here, that's insane. Like, you could drive every day of the week down in Southern California. It's unreal.
And it's cheap.
It is. Yeah. Are you trying to get me to move here?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get, if you come drive with me, I'll move down here.
Oh my gosh, that's really hard.
Both of you.
All right. Sure.
I've been wanting to drive you.
I asked the hard question.
Yeah. Those are heavy hitting questions right there. That's fine.
There's been, I don't know, it's really interesting because it's like the youngest generation now is either really into kind of like the sideshow pit stuff, or they're into the stuff that we like, which is like the, you know, really cool, like well done livery, like well fitted cars that just like sound good and are driven fast. So it's like, it's kind of interesting. There's enough people coming into the subculture to appreciate all the individual subcultures from drifting. That's good for us. I mean, it's bad for if you don't have stock and wheels. You know, if you're like looking to buy a set of wheels from a certain era,
it's hard.
Kind of in trouble these days. But if you have this stuff already, it's gone up in value. That may be a good or a bad thing. It's hard to change your car setup at this point, but it's cool that like rap videos are having drift cars. I mean, like there was music videos that had drifting and drift cars since the beginning, but it seems like almost every single rapper at this point needs to have a drift car.
It's kind of crazy
in their video. It's like the thing that they want. Like, you know, it's like when did that happen? Who made it cool? Like, I want to get to the bottom of that. That's really interesting to me. The driving is, I mean, with stuff like Assetto where it's getting like very, very close to realistic, and the sim setups keep getting better, the car packs keep getting better, the tracks keep getting better. People are like chasing this like realism super heavily there. Kids who are like 18, 19, like if they had Assetto Corsa when I was like 15, you know, like I played plenty of Gran Turismo. I spent a lot of time on Gran Turismo, but with the controller. And like you watch the replay and it's like the wheels like flicking left and right. Yeah, it looks so dumb.
Yeah.
It doesn't really teach you that much, but like learning clutch techniques and all this other stuff that you can in these like simulators, these kids are getting so good. And you look at Assetto and what are all the car packs are all the stuff we like you know, JZXs and Hotchis and you know, cool S chassis that are like done up super crazy. Like that's the fashion, and like the younger generation is really like eating it up.
I really like that answer, and I wish I had thought about that in the intro when we were talking about like how things have changed. But subcultures is so important, I think, for drifting, just because it expands like what you might be into, and it can attract potentially more fans of drifting, because drifting isn't just, you know, like you said earlier, like no bumper and bash bars, and you know, maybe you're not into that, but you can still get into drifting if you like cool aero and livery, or like, you know, like there's just so many more avenues, and I think that lends itself to like a healthy drifting culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And better driving technique. I mean, these kids are 20 years old and like door-to-door tandeming, and you're like, that wasn't a thing. Like,
dude. Yeah, and I want to speak to that a little bit, just because of, you know, how I've seen you grow as a driver. I mean, you are a really good driver these days. And I mean, you've been for a while, but like, it's really cool to see how you've progressed since we first met at that Super D event.
Yeah.
To see
I threw a tantrum because I didn't qualify.
You weren't throwing a tantrum, but you were not happy. But I'm glad we met that day. But like just to see like what you were going through that day to seeing what you can do now, and like to see how fast you can enter a corner at Thunderhill and drive door to door with like really great drivers. It's so amazing to see, and like that is another avenue of drifting, and because to see that at a grassroots level is mind-blowing, because before that level of driving we've only seen like pros do it, and to see grassroots dudes do it just for the love of drifting, like that's awesome.
I feel like you're creating another league though. Like it's kind of like, because there's grassroots and then there's pro, but I feel like he's neither, right?
Yeah, it's
your own little.
Maybe it's like some kind of gray area, or like you could be pro.
We're gonna name
maybe.
it. We're gonna coin it.
It's whatever.
Yeah, there's no name for
whatever's going on in Mahon and all the like Kansai Nara locals are doing. Like that's what we're all chasing.
Yeah,
J grassroots. American grassroots and J grassroots.
And I love watching you guys kind of bring that to the forefront of drifting, because before you guys did it, and I'm talking about you and Animal Style, like I don't think people dared to go as hard as you guys were going, like drifting close to each other, as fast as you're going. Like you guys were not afraid to drift Thunderhill. Like that is a fast course.
Yeah, I mean, so Julian and Jason got their pro licenses on Thunderhill in like KA cars. I think Jason had an SR and Julian would drive like an SR car every once in a while, but like they would go and drive. Julian had a KA S14 and would go drive like the fastest road course.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that trained them. Not only that, they watched a lot of like Japanese drifting and like really chased that like momentum and speed. And I think that laid the groundwork for driving fast and momentum and like not being afraid of entering quickly. And
what are your entry speeds there?
Jason and I were entering at 125.
Oh my gosh.
So like I would get close to rev limiter in fifth gear,
dude,
with short gearing, so
doesn't matter. Yeah. It's 125 miles per hour.
It's a little scary. You're like in a car, you have time to think about what you're doing when you're like accelerating down a straight that long. You're like, you like go to fifth and you're like, I built this car. Like, I put this, like, did I tighten everything? Like, did I bolt? Like, when's the last time I bolt checked this thing? Like, dude. And you're like, well, whatever happens, happens, you know? Like, but that's kind of like the thing where if you're in a, big fish, small pond, right? Like, you could be the best driver at your local event, but if you don't go to other tracks and like see how other people do stuff, like for me going to Japan, I realized that I was terrible. I was like, okay, I have like a long way to go. And like being on the team, I always felt like I didn't have the chase driving that a lot of my teammates did. But I watched Jason, who didn't always have that like super close. He was always like super consistent, amazing driver. But he figured out how to be like aggressive and close and still have his like consistency. And I'm like, I want that. Like, I want to be able to do that. And I'm still working on the consistency part. Yeah. But the like aggression is just like, you get tired of like getting ran away from by your friends or getting beat up, getting chased and like having them hit your car and you can't do it back. You know, it's like this. Yeah. I want that. Like, I want to do that, you know? So.
Yeah. I watched you go through that, and to see how you can drive now is really cool.
Yeah. I think it's my number one priority, and has been for a while. Yeah. And I'm doing everything in my power to push my driving and get to where I want to be and like feel like I belong, I guess. You know? I don't know how to explain it.
No, it's good. You know, I would say a lot of times when you talk about imposter syndrome, it's kind of, it's bad. But in this case, I think it's pushing you. It's inspiring you. Inspiring is maybe the wrong word, but it's pushing you to try harder and harder and never being okay with how you are.
I think, it's exhausting, but it's also something that everybody on the team deals with. Yeah. Like, let alone car setup or mentally, like, I want to be faster. Like, I don't want to be ran away from. Like, I want to be, like, we all have like a lot of desire and drive to be the best we can. And I mean, like, I drove AVS and did some cool stuff last week, but I left going like, I didn't drive how I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go home feeling like I had achieved what I wanted to that day. And like, we all deal with that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which may be healthy or unhealthy. That's for a psychiatrist to determine, but it definitely does help push to get somewhere.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Lot USA. Lot USA has been the master distributor of Brid racing seats for the past 18 years. Celebrating their 42 years in operation, Brid manufactures high-quality performance products for circuit, drag, GT, and drift.
Nadine and I have always run Brid seats in our cars, and even today, Brid seats are the latest mod in our new drift car. Our favorite seats are the FIA-approved Zeta 4 and the reclinable bucket seat, the Stradia 3.
One of the latest releases from Brid is the Zeta 4 Vireo, which is a size small version of the Zeta 4 for petite drivers. Visit lot-usa.com for more info and follow them on IG at lot_USA. This episode is brought to you by Bartleby. Bartleby is a car builder and tuner in the Central Texas, Austin area. In addition to other Nissans like the 350Z, they specialize in GTRs, R32 through 35, and has over 10 years experience. In terms of tuning, they work with most standalone ECUs like Motec, M-Tron, Link, Haltech, and AEM, to name a few. Bartleby has tuned some of our friends' infamous cars, including J-Spec Sam's blue R32 GTR. When we get our GTR, we know where we're sending it to get tuned. Bartleby. For more info, visit bartleby.com and be sure to check out their dyno tuning videos on IG at Bartleby. I want to switch gears and I want to talk about your podcast because, like Benson and I said earlier, it was the first drifting podcast that him and I listened to. Like, I listened to it on my own. He listened to it on his own. Where did you get the idea for the podcast?
So I actually did. So Billy Sutton and Mez from Australia, Billy Sutton from the UK / Ireland. They had one called Unexplored Lines, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it could be cool." I did the podcast. I felt like I was pretty funny, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of fun." Like,
yeah.
I grew up listening to like talk radio stuff with my mom, and I didn't have like a TV in my room. I would listen to like Loveline, probably way too young, and like Howard Stern on the way to school with my mom. Probably not a good idea, Mom, if you're watching. And like car talk, and that was like, I spent a lot of time in the car with my mom. Like, she owned her own business, and we would drive a lot. And when I had my like learner's permit, I would drive her around and stuff. So like, always listening to a lot of like talk radio stuff. And like doing that podcast, I was just like, this is awesome. Like, I want to do one. And I thought about like, who would I have on? Like, what, like, I listened to like a lot of podcasts. I used to commute like 3 hours a day plus. And so like, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to like do drifting stuff, but I don't want to like be pigeonholed. And I want to like, what I really, really want to do was bring people's personalities, because there's so many like crazy personalities in drifting, right? Like, and then people's comments and status posts on like Facebook is not a good representation of somebody's personality. Like, meeting you, like, super cool guy. Like the day that we met, you're judging Super D. I like had a hard time. You call, or you like texted me or called me like the next day, and you're like, "Hey man, just want to let you know, like, I deal with like nerves and stuff too. Like, I get it." And it gave me like a bunch of advice. And I'm like, this is what I want to exist and be on the internet. Cause it's like, everything's so quick and fast paced, and you don't really like get to know anyone, their quirks and their sense of humor and all this other stuff. Like, that's so key. And I know so many cool people that I've met through this thing that like no one's ever heard their story.
Yeah.
No one's ever like wanted to know their story, you know? So it was like, I'm going to give it a shot, see what happens. I did the first one with Jason, and we like didn't really talk about much. And then the second one I did with Aaron Levitt, Jason, and Danny, and like it was like 5 hours long or something. It was like 4.5 hours. It was just like a Zoom call that I recorded, and we talked about so much random stuff. But it was during COVID, and people like wanted to have some camaraderie and feel like they're hanging out, and that's like pretty much how it started.
And where are you taking the podcast now? Like, how many episodes have you done?
I've done over 50.
50?
Yeah,
nice.
I think I've done like, I have like a couple that I've recorded that aren't out yet, but probably like 55, I think, is the total count. I'm just doing them when I have time. Like, driving is the number one goal. I love doing the podcast. Sometimes it gets in the way, but like the feedback that I get from the podcast is way more intense than the feedback I get from my driving. Like, there's a lot of really good drivers out there, but there's not a lot of content that like lets you get to know people from this subculture.
Yeah.
And I think focusing on that would be really good, but still driving is number one. Like, I can't.
Well, like, tell us about some of the feedback that you get.
Yeah, I've had like people tell me that they were on like military deployments and listened to like every single one, and it helped them get through. And people that tell me that it's like motivated them to build a car. People have motivated them to like get back into drifting because they feel some community. And like having people giving a window into people's lives that seem unrelatable,
or untouchable,
making them seem real, and like show that they're like they struggle with the same stuff, like motivation or money or health or relationships or whatever. Like, that's so key, because like everybody has problems. We all deal with stuff. So like having that relatability with somebody, it's just like it opens up a lot to feeling like included in this subculture that we all love so much.
Nice. What are your plans for the podcast? Like, what does the future hold for the Goodestcast?
I want to travel more and like I want to go to Atlanta. I want to go to Miami.
Yeah, because you're doing mobile podcasting. Like, you could bring your setup wherever.
Yeah, I have like a road case that I can fit really everything in.
Love it.
Not quite.
Good luck putting all this stuff in a road case.
Like, I wish you guys could, if you're listening, I wish you could see how cool this setup is. Like, it's not like the most like expensive, crazy like podcast studio ever, but like they put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's awesome.
Thank you.
My setup
hanging by a thread every second.
Shout out, Mark.
But I don't know, just keep having cool people on. Like, I have like a list of like 100 people that I want to have on eventually. Nice. It's hard to schedule these, as I'm sure you guys know. It's hard to like make time and plan ahead. I'm not super good at that either. And, I just want to make it something that I can keep doing and make people happy and get my friends' silly personalities out there more, and I don't know, make drifting seem more accessible and relatable.
Tell me your favorite, or like, I guess your most memorable episode to date.
There's a lot. I don't know how to pick one.
Gotta just pick one. I asked the heavy hitting questions.
The Noriaro one, the Alexi one, I was so sick. I was like deathly sick. And he hit me up and he's like, "Hey bro, you want to do it today?" And I'm not going to say no. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be like, "Sorry bro."
You don't
like,
say no to Alexi.
No, I'm sure he would have rescheduled, but like I just got in like a huge argument with like this, like, I don't know if I want to get it. Anyway, I got in like an argument.
Get into it.
I got into an argument with like a girl I was hanging out with for a short time, like minutes before that, and I literally had to just like sit down and be like, okay, like, because I was like, hey, I have to do this podcast, and they were like, I don't, fucking, what, I don't know, it was like a whole thing. So I sit down, and I'm just like, oh god, and like Alexi like joins my like video chat, and
you're like, hi.
Yeah, I was like, oh hey, what's up? And then luckily, because he's amazing at talking, he just like ran with everything, and I like literally just got to like sit back and be like, I'm fine, like everything's great.
Yeah,
that's like the most memorable one of recent. But I think like maybe I don't know, like some of the early ones were really like interesting too, like not knowing what I'm doing. I had like a USB mic like clipped to like Julian's like radiator support, and like Michael was like sitting in the engine bay on like a folding chair, and we drank like,
you guys were taking pee breaks,
way too many beers, and
burping, and
I mean like
those are some of my favorite ones.
Yeah, because it's
real,
raw.
Yeah,
renegade, and I was like, I'll just show up with the mic, see what happens. And I think
that's one of the most attractive things about your podcast is that it's real. And when you're listening to it, like if you didn't know Julian and Michael, you're like, this is what it's like to be their friend and hang out, and to get that insight is really cool. I mean, I'm lucky that I know them, but for someone who maybe looks up to them and may not have that chance, like to be able to live vicariously through the podcast and like feel like they're part of the conversation is like, it's a big deal. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I do think like the animal style like bubble is like kind of seems like it's hard to like infiltrate, like we kind of seem maybe like a little elitist or whatever, and it's like part of the podcast is showing that we
I wouldn't say elitist.
I
mean, you guys are amazing at what you do, and so maybe that gives it a sense of like it's hard to get into that, but yeah, I like some of the people that you talk to that I don't know, like that's why I understand what that feels like, because like, your Matt Field episode, I don't know Matt, but listening to that, I feel like I get a sense of what he's like. Like if I was his friend, this is, what he's like, and it is awesome to kind of catch that. And speaking of the Matt Field episode, that one's my favorite.
I feel like I did a great job interviewing him on that one.
You did an amazing job on that one.
I was pretty proud of that one.
And
it's because the Lexi one went so bad in my mind.
You had to prove yourself.
I was like, should I even do this anymore? And then like, I sat down with Matt. I was like, I'm gonna like actually, I don't know.
But you said that you told me before we started recording that you don't really do show notes for a lot of your guests, but that one rolled like you had it all set up.
I didn't prepare for that at all.
It was really good. What was different? Was it just the motivation for the Noriyato one, or like, what was it?
I just had like a couple questions in my head I was going to bring up, but he also like, he's a talker, so he made it easy.
It was really good.
Thanks.
I want to congratulate you on that one.
You have had some excellent episodes, by the way. Like I've listened to every single episode of this podcast, every single one. I've also had you on mine.
Yeah.
Like you were my third episode, and I staggered the beginning of my episode or of my podcast. Like it starts on episode 3, which is like a Star Wars joke.
Yeah.
And I made Benson episode 6 like on purpose.
Is there a Star Wars equivalent to episode 6? I don't know.
Anyway, it was like really nerdy.
Yeah.
It's Return of the Jedi. I think
okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing about your and my relationship is like we encourage each other, and we encourage each other to be better, and when we're down, we can share the problems that we're having or the hurdles that we're going through, and like we get to support each other. And like I think that's beautiful for us both being podcasters.
Yeah.
Like we kind of
and
understand
drivers.
And drivers. Yeah, I'm not so much of a driver anymore. I wish I was, but just
you are,
like
babe. Stop.
I love that. We're not competing.
You had Ken on, and I was like, dude, that interview was so good. He was so funny.
Yeah,
I was like, this is like top tier entertainment. I like the story about him like getting like losing his license and like having when he said that he had his like parents take him to the mall to like hang out with girls. I was dying, and I was like, I gotta get Ken on, and I hit you up about it, and you're like, yeah, he'd probably do it.
Yeah,
you're like, he'd definitely do it, and like I was nervous. I was like, I don't know if I can like get somebody like Ken on, and you're like, he'd love to, like he's super cool, and so I hit him up, and he's like, yeah, man, of course.
Yeah, and I had no qualms about you having him on when I had him on. It wasn't kind of like a territorial thing, and the beauty of how both our drifting podcasts can coexist, like that's the perfect example, because my interview with Ken was totally different from your interview with Ken, and you guys talked about different things. Yeah. You guys had a different perspective, and to be able to hear like both sides of that was really awesome.
Yeah, and I think like it's easy for maybe mutual podcasters to feel threatened or compete against each other, but like what I notice about you guys is like you're friendly and you support each other, and I feel like that's really rare. Like I don't see it as much as I would hope to see it. So I think you guys are really sweet.
There's enough for everybody out there.
Yeah.
Like we're putting episodes out like once or twice a month. Like it's not like we're competing for everybody's attention all day, every day, like the news. Like, you know, people have commutes, and like people love drifting, and we can all exist. I mean, there's like there's a ton of drifting podcasts like starting up, and there's some like really good ones, and I've checked some of them out, and I'm like, oh, this is actually like really entertaining, and there's some that aren't so good. No comment.
I mean, you guys have different experiences and different like perspectives too. So you know, you guys aren't coming from the same place anyway.
You know so much more than I do about drifting in the era in which you were in it. Like I've learned so much about drifting before I came into play from your podcast than literally anything else. Simple and plain.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you being interested in it and listening to it. So you know, like I'm so thankful for your support. So
yeah, and likewise.
I mean, Benton's the history professor.
Yeah,
I'm learning as I go too.
Am I a teacher's pet though?
Yeah, you are. Every single episode. Yeah,
I'll buy you an apple.
Ding ding ding.
I don't think it works that way when your podcast is so successful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's hard to it's hard stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think it's hard for you to accept what I'm saying, but I like to see how well your podcast has been doing. Like, I wish you nothing but the best, and I'm so happy for the success that you're getting.
Likewise. I wish I put in as much effort as you guys did. Because they would come out as good as these do. They're seriously so sick. Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I've always said I think your podcast is one of my favorites, and the like effort that you put in, the guests that you have, like you're literally like teaching the younger generations that have zero connection with like people of that era about what the origins of drifting in the US are. Like that's so important. Like there isn't there's like articles here and there that you can kind of like piece stuff together, but the hours and hours of conversation with the people who were there at the beginning is pivotal, and you're the first one to do it, and it's going to be something that people look back on.
Thank you. I hope so. I hope
so. So I see Benson sometimes burned out or like challenged really bad, being like the head, right? And he's trying to figure out who to have on, when to record, scheduling, and things like that. Like, tell me your experiences with your podcast.
It's literally the worst part. Drifters are, I don't want to put them all in the same basket, but as a whole, stereotypically, we're not the best at planning. I think we're all very like impulsive, reactive people.
Who's the most difficult to get on? I want to know. I gotta ask these questions. Tell me.
I've been talking with Casey from Shirts Tucked In for like 2 years.
Wow,
2 years.
Yeah, well, it's like I'm trying to do one with him and someone else, and like he wanted to do it. He wants to do it. It's just like the scheduling's hard and timing and whatnot. I'm just gonna come out there, dude.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go to Japan.
Just
and we'll
get it done.
You can't get away.
So like that one's been, and then like that's pretty high on the list. And like Joel from C's Garage, like he's so busy, and it's like, we'll like talk and like we'll set something up, and like either I'll have to flake or he has to flake. Like it's tough because like I have to like I want to drive, and if an event comes up, it's like, I hate to say it, but like the podcast comes second to like driving, you know? So I'm like, oh, I got to prep my car. Okay. Well, like this whole week, I can't really do anything. Yeah. I live alone. For now, I live alone. Have a full-time job. I'm like trying to drive. I maintain my own car.
Yeah.
Getting scheduling in advance is very difficult. So
and you do the podcast by yourself completely.
Yeah. But I mean, production quality isn't quite what we're looking at here. You know, it's like one camera.
Can we get some help? Can we get some help for Palmer?
Yeah,
like
an intern.
He needs an intern.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll hook you guys up. We'll get you some interns.
Yeah, who works at like one of those like art schools? Like, I'll get you some credits.
Some credits.
Yeah.
I think they'd rather like they do it for drifting, you know, like get you rides, give them rides.
Oh, I'll get you if you come intern for me. I'll get you ride-alongs in some of the coolest cars on the planet.
There you go, done. You're gonna have a line.
Yeah. I'll teach you how to drift.
Oh, promises.
Let's talk about. No, let me start that over because we talked about that already. Let's talk about the future of drifting. Where do you see drifting in the next 5 years?
5 years is tough because it's like the subcultures, drifting's growing. The subcultures are growing.
Like takeovers?
Yeah, I mean, like that. How do you tell, you know, like the pits, like they're having like pit events and those are getting like really big. And then you have like all these drift events all the time. We have people like who we hung out with now on like NBC, like Hertz on TV now, you know, and you're just like, that was like a guy I drove with. Like, right. It was crazy when he was on Hoonigan. I was like, he's hanging out with T-Pain and on TV.
T-Pain, yeah.
You know, and like, I look at it like skateboarding had like this huge uptick and then it wasn't cool for a while. Mm-hmm. And then it came back and it just hasn't gone away and it's only gotten bigger.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As more people come onto this planet, more people are going to be into more niche subcultures. I don't see it getting smaller. I see it becoming a little bit more unaccessible, I think.
Yeah.
Because like all this growth we have in driving, we still have tracks like shutting down and not new ones replacing. We have Willow Springs. It's like no more tandem or no more passengers on Horse Thief and you can't drive streets of Willow anymore. And like no tandems at Balcony. And it's like, what is happening? Like, it's like the biggest thing in that like everyone wants to see, like coming from Fuel Fest where like there's 15,000 people there and people are paying $100 a pop for a ride along.
Yeah.
There was a line wrapped around the building the entire day.
I saw it. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable to me. Like people want a piece of it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's still a subculture and it's still like kind of hard to find, you know?
Yeah.
Do you like that it's becoming kind of a monster?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's this catch-22. It's like I liked it being this like small thing and a small community and like having this like kind of like I don't know. Yeah, community. It was a community. Like you could go anywhere and be like, "Hey, I drift," you know. Like you know, it's like these people who've been like down for a long time. Like you start to recognize them either from forums or social media or whatever. I think it's going to grow in popularity, but I don't think it's really going to exceed I don't think the driver count is going to go crazy, if that makes sense. Like, I think people are going to be really interested in it, but I don't think that like everyone's going to be able to do it. Like skateboarding, how many people go to the X Games that don't skate, or like how many people watch skateboarding or the Olympics that aren't into that sport, or racing or F1 or whatever. Like Long Beach sold out this year. That's crazy. It was, do the math on that. What's a ticket? $100 for the weekend, 20,000. That's $2 million. You know.
Do you think it's due to the fact that it's harder and more expensive to start drifting, or if it's the like tracks shutting down?
I think drifting in the cars that we love is going to become inaccessible.
Okay.
To the younger generations, but those are the cars that people are going to think are cool. Yeah. Like you watch, like I was watching Barrett Jackson the other day, and like these like absolutely sick like old hot rods and stuff would come up and they'd go for like 20-30 grand, but I'm like, that's like a...
That's what an S13's going for.
Yeah, I was like, that's what like a nice S15 is.
Yeah,
you know?
Dude, I
and
thought the same exact thing, and I did not understand how a car that's been on this planet for 50 years and is looking pristine costs as much as an S chassis.
Yeah, and it's like got some crazy LS swap, and it's like, you know, it's
beautiful.
A resto mod. It's like kind of like a sound system and custom interior, and then it's like, you know, some like Japanese Mustang is like going for the same price. You're like, what? You know, like a JZX, which is like, you know, I think it's going to be really difficult moving forward because auto manufacturers aren't giving us what we need to do what we love, right? Like E36s, when I got in, there's like 10 at every junkyard.
Yeah.
I remember when I got my S13, there was like 3 at every junkyard, you know, like 2010. There was still like S chassis were still at junkyards.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
Like Hachis.
Forget it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. You like talked about this on some of your other podcasts where like people were like, oh, you're going to drift an S chassis? Like that's a newer, nice car. Like just get a Hachi.
Yeah.
You know, like people like when I heard that, I was like, what? Like people said that? It's insane, you know? Yeah. We're gonna run through chassis. Like E36s are gonna get chewed up and spit out.
So what's the next one?
They're gonna be rare. Well, there's a lot of E46s at every junkyard. We're gonna run through Z's. All generations.
There are a lot of Z's, so I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of E36s.
A lot of E30. Oh, and there are a lot of E36s.
Yeah, and we're going through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep your chassis? What happens? Like
my chassis is hurt.
It's beat.
Yeah.
I was
caught on fire. You know what? Let's talk about that. I asked the heavy. Thank you, Mark.
I don't know if he wants to talk about that. That was like a dumpster.
I see the vein popping out of his head. This is a good question.
Pure anxiety right now.
Yeah, I love it. Get it, boy. Yeah. Why? How did your car catch on fire? And this is like a news flash. Like FDM3.
Yeah.
Is that your news flash?
Oh my god.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so we went to Fuel Fest. Drove all day. Found out there was an event at the barracks, like a car show or whatever, and like Aaron, my teammate Aaron Levitt, is like skateboarding, like otaku, like absolute like psycho about skateboarding. He also skates. We have our cars. We like find out one of the people working the booth is like friends with the people running the event, and then also Laura knows them too. So we show up and they're like, you get to drive your cars in. Like they're like, oh yeah, some people left, like pull them in. So Aaron and I get to drive our cars into the barracks, which is like unbelievable, right? While that's happening, we get introduced to this like photographer, and he's like telling us about this event. He's like, oh yeah, we got this like event at Dodger Stadium. And I was like, okay, like that's cool. Like get to drift at Dodger Stadium, like it's free, you know, sign me up. So like we go, and he's like, oh yeah, the meetup spot is like no good. Come meet us at this Home Depot. And we're like,
shady.
We're like, huh?
The heck? Okay.
So we like pull up. Our cars aren't trailers, you know? Like, we like Aaron's from Seattle, and we're like driving around LA like with our cars on trailers, and pull up to this parking lot, and there's like a bunch of random cars there. There's like a RWB Porsche.
Okay.
There's a
don't say G37
sedan.
There was more than one. And a G35 sedan.
That wasn't me.
I don't know, guys. So like we're like, what is this wide range of cars? And there's like, you know, there's like a Charger, like Hellcat or whatever. I don't really know those cars that well. And like a bunch on a trailer. And I'm like, all right. I was like, okay, we're, you know, who knows what could happen? Like we might drift, you know, like, so we like show up, and he's like, oh yeah. So it's like, okay, by the city, we got like the permits and blah, blah. I was like, okay, like cool. So we're going to drift, and we show up, and it's like, it's kind of like a barnyard pit kind of thing. And they're like, all right, like you guys can go first. And we're like, okay, cool. So like Aaron and I just like jump in and start like tandeming and, you know, doing like passes and stuff. And like a minute and a half in, Aaron's going like flashing his hands at me, and I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What's he doing? And then like someone, like people are like yelling, and I was like, huh.
Go harder.
That's not good. I was like, either that was like really sick or there's a problem. And so like Aaron like stops and he's like, your car's on fire. And I was like, what? But I like got out all slow and I was like, oh yeah, I just put a new fire extinguisher in, like pulled it out of my cage and like handed it to some guy and he like sprays it down. Doesn't go out.
Oh.
I'm like, okay.
What part of your car's on fire?
So the rear like gas tank filler neck area and the whole rear wheel well and the whole like rear bumper is like engulfed in flames.
Oh.
And I'm like, I was like, is my car really gonna burn down in like a
takeover?
Yeah, I mean, they were like very adamant that this wasn't a takeover and they're not takeover people. So like, I don't want to say that it was like that.
Well, if there was a Hellcat there. No.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on.
I mean, okay, so like we didn't know what we signed up for, okay?
Yeah.
Like, we thought we were gonna go drift at Dodger Stadium. It is what it is. So like another fire extinguisher comes out, doesn't put out the fire. Another fire extinguisher comes out, doesn't put out the fire. Some dude rolls up with like a Modelo, pours it on there, doesn't put out the fire. I'm not really freaking out for some reason.
Yeah, that's
I don't
weird.
know. Like I just have.
You're just watching your car melt.
Yeah, like I'm like, okay, so I'm like patting out the flames with my like I had my driving gloves on because my wheel's really slippery, and I was
You're
like,
fancy.
Yeah, I'm trying to be like Chobby.
Shout out.
Yeah. So I'm like patting the flames out, and it's like kind of going out, but not really, and like open the fuel door, and like flames come out.
Oh dude!
And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, okay, my car might really burn down.
Yeah.
Or
because like before that, I was
combust.
just like, it's fine. I'll like put it out, and everyone's like freaking out because like the fuel, like when you open the fuel door and like flames come out, everyone's like, whoa, back up.
Yeah, yeah.
But honestly, everybody was super nice. Like people ran and got fire extinguishers. This dude had like a GT3, like, and he's like, I'll have this, and like holds up like the factory like fire extinguisher, and I was like, yeah, spray it, and he's just like. And like puts it out immediately, and I was like,
"That's what you need."
He had the real
That's
fire
what you need.
And I was like, "Shout out Germany!" And the guy was like super nice.
Well, your German car needed a German fire extinguisher.
Oh, German fire.
Yeah, it's different, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So like my fuel cap was leaking, which the reason I didn't qualify at that event that you judged, I found out was I didn't drive most of the day because my fuel cap was leaking.
So again.
Yeah, it struck again.
Oh, wow.
But this time I was with E85 and I was doing like second gear donuts and stuff. So it got really hot.
You forgot to mention the part where you were on fire, but Aaron kept doing donuts around you because he thought it looked really sick.
Yeah, well, he did like one and then he's like, okay, I should probably stop. But he had his Lambo doors up. It was like a whole vibe. And the whole time I'm just like, I didn't get to do any. We want to do like rodeo donuts and like all this other stuff. Like we're gonna show them like you know
show like
the OG stuff.
Yeah,
you did show them.
Yeah, and
you were parked by what?
A dumpster. There's like a lot of dumpsters surrounding it. Yeah, we were like running like the dumpsters. You know, like there weren't walls, there were dumpsters.
Okay, got it.
But we were like doing passes and stuff. There's like a big shipping container. It was like. Kind of dangerous, I'm not gonna lie, but it was okay by the city. It was totally legal. So
that's dope.
You know, showing them how to keep it off the streets, you know, off the intersections and whatnot.
Right.
Like I did like a half-ass rollback, and I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so.
And then now you're famous on the internet.
Yeah. I was like driving home. I was just like, oh god, I'm gonna be a YouTube thumbnail. Like I know. Like there were so many people like filming and like on Instagram Live, and I was like, this isn't my world. Like I don't really like know any of the people there, but I feel like there was enough people with cameras where someone's gonna have a YouTube following or like TikTok or whatever, and like. Literally like the Monday, like this is like Sunday, and the next Monday morning, like I had like 5 people message me like, dude, is this you? I was like, what happened? Oh my god. But they
didn't read your stickers and like say anything about Animal Style or your name or anything like that.
No, they didn't say anything. Yeah, it just said Formula Drift M3.
Oh, that's you.
Uncontrollable flames.
Love it.
Up in but like the video is not bad. Like the guy like covers that it was legal, and then he like shows us like driving cool too. We didn't just like clickbait my car on fire. That's kind of nice.
I totally thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
You
lucked out.
Exploited.
That was like probably one of the most embarrassing. That and me crashing the first lap out at Super D Matsuri 2016 right in front of Naoki, like probably like one of the first 2 cars on the track, and like absolutely understeering off turn 1 at Grange into the wall. And I look up and like Simba, Chab, Mel, I think John, I don't remember who was all at the wall, but they like just look in the car. They're like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like
it was right in front of them.
Yeah. I was like, "How could I?" Actually, I think that was more embarrassing. Yeah, like my car catching on fire in front of a bunch of people I don't know is way less embarrassing.
Oh my god! So have you surveyed the damage? Are you good? Or
I went and drove it at ABS like a couple days later. I flew home for work, and then I flew back with the old, because I replaced my gas cap before this trip. I flew home and I went and found that old gas cap in the garbage, and I put it in a Ziploc bag.
Oh, great!
I flew back and put it back on my car.
That works.
Yeah, check your gas cap seals if you have an E36.
That's crazy.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad your car lives on.
Yeah.
That'll be good. But if it didn't live on, what would you get next?
Whoa. I'm pretty like, I was talking to Kazuya, and like I have dreams of driving in Japan. Like that is like I mean, like my friends have done it. It's like this like thing that I feel like if I don't do it, I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. Like having the connections and the like access to do that.
Yep.
I do want to ship a car there. I don't want to buy one there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I want to ship a left-hand drive E36 to Japan. Like,
love it.
They'll love that.
Yeah, because we like, dude, we have a lot of S chassis over there. Like, ship the left-hand drive BMW.
Yeah,
like, people think they're really cool. Like, he's like, I've always thought it was cool. I'm like, okay.
Would you just drive Mahon?
I'd probably like
tour.
I'd probably drive like Bahoku first, and like probably try and do like a Matsuri, and then just give it like a full-on Viking funeral.
Oh, you're not going to bring it back?
No.
Oh.
No, I would leave it there.
So maybe soon then. You should do it.
Yeah. But
That's exciting.
I'm trying to figure out all the logistics and details and stuff. But
like,
how would you end it? I want to know how
I don't know. I'm just going to drive it at Mahon. Like,
just let everyone like bang on your door. And...
Yeah. Like just really like try and drive. I don't know. Obviously like I want it to last, and I want to be able to go back and have multiple trips and like drive it there. But like,
how do you even get a car to Japan? Like, did you price it out?
I'm still working on the details. It's a vision right now. It's on my vision board.
It's your manifest.
Yeah, I'm manifesting it right now. Yeah.
Love it.
What do you manifest for your podcast?
I would like it to be easier to do.
Yes.
I
agree with that.
I've decided in the last like couple weeks / months that I'm not going to just kill myself trying to like one up the last episode and just have people on that I find interesting, and not try and chase someone or some, people that I think are going to be like bring a lot of people in.
Right.
I'm just going to focus on trying to do it the best I can with people that want to do it and that are available and that I find interesting and are cool people, because
hell yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. I feel like that's such a big issue. Like when Benson and I talk about guests, and when I was like writing our sponsorship deck for the podcast, and I'm just like listing all our guest followers, and I'm like, wait, that's not us. Like, that's not what we do. We just have the people on because they're important, not because they have followers and stuff. So.
I mean, that's the thing, though. There's like a lot of people that you had that I had, they don't have a big following, but I followed them because I was like, holy shit, this is like literally the most important people to the thing that I like live for. So
yeah. Oh, I'm excited for you. That's good. You and Benson are so much alike.
We are.
Yeah.
We are really alike.
Yeah, we are.
I know. Fun fact, did you know Benson and Julian have the same birthday?
I did know that.
Yeah. Taurus is in the house.
Yeah. Oh. That's why we get along, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm a triple Capri Sun.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Capricorn.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I love it.
Yeah. Leave
Capricorn
that in.
and Taurus.
We're getting close to the end here, so I wanted to ask, what kind of advice do you have for some aspiring drivers?
That's always like a hard thing to answer because everyone has different challenges. Like some people may have money and no time, or some people may have money and no support, or money and no money and all the talent in the world, and just like it's really hard to answer that. But like on the grand scale, on the level, it depends on what you want to do with it, right? Like if you want to just go have fun, like don't let that hold you back. You can do it relatively easily these days. It doesn't matter what car you're driving or whatever. Like I know that there's like a lot of pressure to do this or have this part or this engine or power or this chassis or whatever. It's like you can go and have a good time in anything. If you make it easy and accessible for yourself, you're going to do it more. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get. I did not get better by freaking out over alignment or chasing setup or parts or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, to be honest, I did have a lot of help with people that I know and how to set things up. But like, look at the people that drive the way you want to drive and not only emulate their driving, but their setup. Don't try and like buy a Miata and drive like someone that you think drives really cool with like an S chassis or whatever, Get the car or run the tires, run all the stuff that people that you want to drive have, and try and get as much time, behind the wheel as you can. And that's really it.
I think it's kind of interesting because I Animal Style really models their driving after Naoki Nakamura.
Yeah.
And the advice you just gave is straight out of his book, where, you don't need to overcomplicate your car, but what you need is something that's reliable and lets you have as much seat time as possible. You don't need fancy arms and 500 horsepower. You just need something that will run and be reliable enough to like not break down. So it's all about seat time. So
yeah, I mean that's what if you look at what we're doing, we're literally just copying the setup and styling and all the stuff from, not copying, but like we're doing it in our own ways, but we're like chasing the driving style and we're setting our cars up in the exact way that we want to drive based on how people drive with that setup, right? So it's like, B knuckle and big tires and lots of scrub, and it works. It's if you want to drive a certain way, you set your car up the way the people that you want to emulate are, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Is Animal Style taking new members?
I'll run it by the team. I know you're getting really tired of drifting pretty, so
yeah, I might want to like
branch out.
Hell no. No, I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah. He's busy with another subculture, the G35.
I'm part of the no having my own podcast club, unlike everyone else in this room.
No podcast. Oh,
so like a takeover division.
we get asked a lot how to like get on the team.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And it's like, I mean, and a lot of like, it's not from people we know. It's usually like random people.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone who ends up on the team just like hangs out a lot and drives with us and like has like isn't like, could be in the friend group and like has similar car styling and drives really hard. Like, I don't know, Brandon Strong is a great example. He's from Calgary, Canada.
Yeah.
But like he drives with us. Like Brandon is incredible.
Yeah.
He is an incredible driver.
Yeah,
like he like impressed hero. Like when he went to Japan, like the people that I'm surrounded with, like I often feel like I do not belong. Like I know where I stand on the totem pole. I'm just going to be realistic. So like,
where do you stand on this totem pole?
Don't ask Palmer that.
That's the hard hitting questions. I think like closer to the bottom. Anyway,
you're a humble guy.
Yeah. But closer to the bottom. I'll be realistic. Those, Brandon would make the trek to drive with us. 30 hours of towing, 20 plus hours of towing, just to like hang out and drive with us because like he wanted to push, and like we all want the same thing. Same thing with Aaron. Aaron was like hanging around with us, funny dude, great driver, good car style. Like what, if it works, it works. If it fits, it fits. That's really it. Like we just brought Sam on. Sam was hanging out with us for years. And like literally all that dude wants to do is like drive and get better. He plays Assetto like almost every night. He's really pushing to be an insane driver, and like, I mean, I'm 6 years older than him, so he's got time, he's gonna catch up quickly.
Sam's gotten really good really fast as well. I was so happy to see him become part of the team.
Yeah, he's a really nice dude.
Yeah.
He gave me a S13 hatch shell, so.
Oh, is that why he's a nice dude?
Yeah. You can buy me for sale sometimes.
I love it. All right.
Do you have anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah. I'm gonna shout out the whole team, the whole Animal Style team, of course. Like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without them. In drifting, I mean, like, I want to shout you out, man. Like, having you want to do the podcast like right away and like support me and just all the like conversations we've had and like help and stuff in life, honestly, like on a personal level has been huge. There's like so many people in this community that have like done a lot for me. It's like hard to even sit here and think about.
That's the beauty of what we do is we're like, it's full of really great people.
Yeah.
So you made it to the end of this podcast.
Good job.
Do you want to do a password? You want to do a throwback and do a password like you did in your old episodes?
A long time. Yeah, I do.
All right, what's the password?
Yeah, if you've listened to this whole thing, the password is dumpster fire.
Yeah. Good one.
I love it.
So share a story, like hit us up, say dumpster fire, and we'll know that you made it to the end. I got you a gift, and I forgot to give it to you at the beginning of the podcast. Yeah.
It's S13 hatch.
It's not. I got you a shirt.
Oh, dude. That's sick.
Yeah. It's one of our early conversations. Yeah. Like we both realized we like the brand Pata, and so I was thinking about you because I'm into the brand, and
that's so
they're
cool.
from Amsterdam. They're really into hip hop, and so I got you a shirt. So
dude, you're the man.
Yeah. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Now I need to like give people gifts.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Setting the bar really high. I love it.
Yeah, dude,
this is awesome.
You're a good friend. So thank you. I'm going to close this out by saying thank you for what you do for drifting culture. I think that I do this podcast because it's my way of giving back. I think you definitely give back to drifting culture. You are educational through your podcast. You make people accessible. You do it in a way where you show that the right way to act. You have a lot of positivity. You give a lot of life lessons. There's just so many good things that you do through your podcast. Whoa. And like we've had these discussions where you talk about how you help people through the day, or you inspire someone who's feeling down about life to, like get back up. and do something about it. And you've had several episodes about like mental health and stuff like that. So I appreciate that stuff.
Yeah, we also like talk about aliens and shit sometimes.
Yeah, like
so it's like
it, and that too. Like, you're very the podcast is so entertaining, right? So even if you're having a bad day, you listen to it and like it's funny. So and for the people who haven't listened to Palmer's podcast, like he's a quirky dude, so it comes through on the podcast.
Thanks.
And I love it. So like it's like you really come through on the podcast, and
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I try and be myself. I think I am.
You have to be.
I kind of don't really know how to not be myself.
Yeah.
I'm this like at work. I'm this like at the track. I'm this with friends. I'm this on the podcast. Like I kind of like sometimes wish I could like scale back my weird sense of humor and stuff a little bit, but hey.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes it good. So keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, and I've said it already, but thank you for what you do in pushing the culture forward by progressing it through your driving and showing people that you can drive well and have a cool car style too. And like that, I think that's the key to being an OG, is putting your imprint on the culture and moving it in a good direction. And I definitely think you're doing that. So
thank you. Yeah. I mean, all we can do is like lead by example and try and make the thing that we love better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely leaving a legacy for sure. You are. You're setting your legacy. You're gonna leave it. Put it down.
I don't even know how to respond.
Just
to that.
Take it.
Keep that in.
Just take it.
All right. You guys are the best.
Yeah, man. So thank you so much.
I'm just hyped on this shirt.
Yeah, dude.
So put it on
right now. Should I go take this one off?
Yeah, we'll pause everything and put it on. Be like, outro.
And we didn't talk about the fact that this is a crossover episode.
Yes.
We left that out somehow.
And what is a crossover episode?
So, we are interviewing Palmer.
Yeah.
And Palmer's going to interview us. So if you haven't listened to his podcast, this is a great time to listen to it for the first time. Go find Goodestcast on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, and check out his interview with us and see how different the podcast is and how it's good in its own right.
Yeah, the tables are going to be turned.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I'm going to ask the hard-hitting question.
And I'm going to be the worst podcast guest you've ever had.
We're going to come.
You were good the first time we did it.
Yeah, but I'm going to turn it up.
Are you?
Or turn
be
it
like
down.
Extra bad on purpose?
Extra bad, yeah.
I mean, I'm here for it.
I need, you need to, sometimes you need to go through the fire to be better. And so I'm going to...
You're going to test me?
I'm going to test you.
You're going to just turn your,
You'll see.
Move away from the mic on purpose.
Yeah,
You'll see.
Cough all the time.
Yep.
It'll be based on
snort.
It'll be based on how good your gift is for him.
Oh.
No, you don't need to give me a gift. No, you don't.
We're joking. All good. We're excited to do it. But these...
I'm going to get you some tires so you can go drive.
Oh.
I don't need tires. I need time.
Tires.
Watches are a little expensive. Okay?
Yeah, a little Rolex.
Yeah.
For everything you've done for the culture,
Stop.
I got you a Rolex, Benson.
Give me a Timex.
Okay. the gas station Rollie?
Yeah.
The Rolex with 2 X's.
The Folex. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The best.
Thanks,
You too.
Palmer.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Salady Mania Podcast Season 2. Brought to you by Falcon Tires, produced by Benson Sue and Nadine Sue, audio and video engineering by Mark Mondoy, graphic design and motion graphics by Steve Nakamura. Got a question or comment for us? Call or text us on our hotline at 323-607-6075, and maybe you can be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you download your podcasts.